Hello, hello. Welcome, YouTube. This is Emperor Dion. Today's topic was just a thought that I had come up about the very honestly unique situation of being a black incel. I've said this lots of times before, but if you're a black incel, it goes contrary to the popular narrative about black men that, oh, we're like these athletically gifted, masculine, extroverted, funny, gets girls, like all these little stereotypes about black men. If you're a black incel, that runs completely contrary to what you as a black man are expected to do. So, um, look, the thing is, when I was coming up, I can speak definitely from my experience, and I'm going to assume that, all of your experiences were similar to mine if you were also a black incel growing up. And so there's a tragedy that happens with this, and it goes a little something like this story that I'm going to outline to you. So you're a young man, right? And you start to recognize that, hey, I'm struggling to talk to girls, and I'm shy, and I'm awkward. I'm lost. I don't know what to do, and nobody's really coming to help me, and this and that. And you just fall behind in all these various ways. And then just nothing really kind of comes out of it, and nothing happens to kind of break you out of this downward spiral that you're on while you're young. So you inevitably become an incel, pretty much, where you don't have any access to girls, you don't have any girlfriends, you don't have nobody checking you out. And at the very worst, you could be getting bullied too. I wasn't getting bullied in high school, but I definitely didn't have friends, and I definitely wasn't getting girls. So you end up like this. And then you graduate, and then you go and do whatever your normal life or your adult life is going to be, or you start that. And then you go along just trying to live your life, but this problem that you can't get girls just keeps coming up. And it's very, very painful. It's honestly very crippling, because if you can't get a romantic partner, then especially when you want a romantic partner and you want kids and to have a family and to be married one day, if you want these things, most people do, okay, that's going to cause a lot of damage. It's going to cause a lot of damage. So, eventually you end up finding yourself, back in 2016, run about there. Eventually you end up finding yourself in the red pill space. Oh, MGTOW, we don't want women anyway. We're going our own way. And they start telling you about like all the things, all the laws that favor women, and which I didn't even know about that shit at the time. But you start finding out about all this shit. Oh, women have hypergamy. Women are just all whores and skewers and skeezers, and they lie, and they're gonna divorce rape you, and like you're better off without a woman. Go your own way. And it's like, wow, yeah, this is a great message. And then you kind of just start to cope and mask your loneliness from not getting a woman behind this facade of red pill knowledge. That's what happened. That's probably what happened to most of you guys too. So this happens, and then you spend your time inordinately in the red pill space around all these guys, because these are the only guys that understand you. These are the only guys that get you. This is the only place you can come where you not having a girl is like acceptable, and you can rationalize it in all these various ways. You hang around this space, and then eventually you start to notice that the way some of these guys are talking is sounding very, very anti-black. Like they'll just come out and say, oh yeah, I can't stand these niggers. They 13% of the population that commit 50% of the crimes. And it's like, okay, like don't you recognize that you got black men here with you? Why are you talking like this? Like black people is such a problematic thing. Like, but you keep running into this anti-black sentiment. All because like all you are is just a guy that couldn't get girls. You just a guy that struggled to get a girlfriend. And now you're sitting here hearing about how black people, basically you, are a piece of shit. But you ignore it because you're like, oh, well, they're surely not talking about me, are they? No, they can't be talking about me. They mean those other black people that are those bad black people over there that do bad things. They don't mean me. They're not talking about me. They mean those bad ones. They mean Pookie. They mean those hoodlums. Fast forward a few more years. All of a sudden, Donald Trump gets elected again. And then, out of the blue, it's like, yeah, we need to take away women's rights. We need to deport the immigrants. And oh yeah, we need to get rid of black people. And it's like, well, hold on, I thought I was the good one. It's like, no, screw you too. You're not. Yep. See, you started off as a guy that just couldn't get a girlfriend, and now all of a sudden you're here getting called a girl. This is the tragedy of being a black incel. You fall down this pipeline. This pipeline was designed to capture a certain demographic, by the way. This red pill pipeline, it was orchestrated from the very start by these groups. You know, these racist white supremacist groups, they've been operating under the scenes for a long time. They've been orchestrating this stuff for years and years and years. And they set up things such as the red pill, and they definitely came into it and set it up that way to funnel in a bunch of white guys. And then they got plenty of white guys. The red pill, or the lonely man to red pill to alt-right to white supremacist pipeline is real. But there's plenty of lonely black dudes too that also, you know, that this pipeline is colorblind. They don't discriminate against like who falls into the pipeline, obviously, because this is an issue that can happen to any guy irregardless of their race. But even more so, you're more likely to fall into this demographic if you are an ethnic man anyway. So it's like this double tragedy here where you just, all it was is that you struggling to get women, and then you fall down this pipeline, and then you think you're around people that understand and get you, and that you're gonna be part of this movement to try to one day change this situation around. Then you fast forward, now you're here getting caught and getting kicked the fuck out of it. Well, if you're not getting kicked out of it, you wise up like I did and just walk away from all that shit, you know, before it even gets there. But I kind of started to see that coming way ahead of time, because I'm the type that is not a pussy, first of all. Like, if you're going to talk about me or something that pertains to me, I'm going to call you out right away. But like, hey, hold on, you're talking about me. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. And I'll get right up in people's face. I don't give a fuck, okay? I recognize right away that if you can't give grace to people who look like me, because this is what we do in a civilized society with criminals. We give groups of people grace. Like, if there's a criminal, we don't just look at that criminal's race and just say all people of that criminal's race are all bad too. No, we give people grace. And even people who do bad things, we try to give them grace up to a certain point. But when I see people talking about my people like that is a sign that you are not giving my people grace. You're not giving me grace. And eventually, even if you say right now that I'm one of the good ones, eventually you're gonna just be like, you know, fuck this. Like, get him out of here too. You know, because we don't need him no more. No, he here too. Like, get him out of here. You see that? You see, you know, like, this is the tragedy of being a black incel, guys. It's the tragedy. But what are you inevitably having to do about this, though? Because this issue that you can't get a girlfriend is very real. It's very, very real. But this group that you were part of, because of this, you know, it turns out to be, you know, this racist shit. And you can't hitch your wagon up to that now. So what are you to do after that? Well, hopefully by then you would have figured out a way to stop being an incel and actually get a girlfriend. Hopefully. But if not, you're really in this really difficult position, because you can't go back to the red pill. You can't go around these people anymore, because they've all been radicalized into white supremacists, and the ones that are white enough to stick around, they're going to stick around. And the ones who are not white at all, they're going to get shook the fuck out. Okay, so like all of you guys are just sitting here with your dick in your hand and still no girl, and what are you gonna do? Rub dicks together or something? Shit, like this is the tragedy of being a black incel. I guess you could say also ethnic men in general face a similar thing, but a lot of ethnics that are not black try to still dunk on black people to try to gain some acceptance from the white supremacists too, though. So they're not exactly your friend either if you're a black incel. The black incels in all of this really have it the absolute worst. There's no real allies for us. There's no camp that we fit into. Like, black people don't want you. The white supremacists don't want you, obviously, because they don't need you anymore. And it was probably not a good idea for you to be in there in the first place, too, because that's what the red pill just turned out to be, just a funnel, a sales funnel for the white nationalists the whole time, pretty much. What are you to do? What are you to do? Because I'm pretty sure there's plenty of black guys that are true cells that, I mean, I literally would not know what to tell them. What, go to Africa? Like, that's not really a clear answer, because you could still end up being an incel in Africa, or at the very least you could end up getting into some big trouble of getting scammed or getting harmed physically or something like this. I mean, a lot of the passport bro locations, a lot of those locations work mostly for guys that are tall, but if you're like this black guy that's not very attractive and you're like short, there's plenty of black guys like that. What are you gonna do? I literally don't know. What, I don't want to tell you to just go start a shotgun, but it seems that's kind of the only way out for you, really, unless you want to be some creepy uncle or a stepdad, or just hermit for the rest of your life. Like, that's not really a life to live. But that's, another layer of the tragedy of being a black incel too, is that what about the guys that are not tall? What about the guys that are not attractive in any discernible way? What about the guys that couldn't get money? What about the guys that couldn't make it in one way or another? And the guys that passport broing basically isn't really going to work for? What about those guys? It's already bad enough for guys like me. I did escape inceldom. I escaped it before I got to the part where the white supremacists pull the rug out from under you and tell you, hey, we don't like you either, nigga. Like, I got out of it before that part. I kind of saw it coming anyway, but I got out of it before that part, and I'm able to get a girlfriend, that's decently good and well, and I've been able to cope with that for quite some time. But I recognize that there are plenty of black incels that are not going to get out of this in one piece. They're going to come out of this life bitchless, a virgin, no kids, broke, and probably with nobody giving a shit once they go out too. That's the inevitable fate of a lot of these black incels, and I really don't see the headwinds changing on this, like, at all. Even if you get rid of the white supremacists, it's still going to be up shit's creek for these guys, for the most part. And, I mean, I guess on one level, I don't feel too much sympathy about it, because at the end of the day, even guys that are not reproducing or not going to reproduce are still male competition for me. And I would appreciate less male competition than more. So on one level, I don't mind from that, but on the other level, I do recognize how tragic that really is. And that is the tragedy of being a black incel, guys. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. This has been Emperor Dion. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Later.